You're listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast, a Texas Tech athletics podcast where food and sports clash at the goal line. Here are your hosts, Spencer and Michael.
All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 23 Personnel Podcast. I'm your host, Spencer, joined by Michael. Michael, what's up, man?
I'm over here. I'm a little self-conscious about my microphone light. It seems now that we're doing video, maybe I should cover it.
It's beautiful.
Is it
bright, brilliant,
blue?
It's blue.
Blue's my favorite color.
There you go.
Actually, I'm just kidding. It's red and black because that's what I bleed. What's going on, man?
Hey, we got a football schedule today, man.
Yes.
Actually, it was yesterday, but
Yeah, it was yesterday.
it's today. We're recording on Wednesday, streaming on Wednesday. We're doing a little differently because of the game on Monday. Everything thrown off by basketball. We won, but yeah, we have football to talk about, which is exciting. Signing day was today. It was a relatively quiet signing day because you signed basically everybody but one of your class in December, but you got one more today. Not a surprise, not a flip, but we'll spend most of the time talking about the schedule. Look at who on the four teams within the conference who we're going to miss playing this season. And then, Mike, I want to get your thoughts on which Big 12 stadium, new Big 12 stadium you'd most like to visit, or which ones you'd most like to visit. And then we'll talk some basketball. So, do need to remind everybody, this is episode 331 of the 23 Personnel Podcast, brought to you by Sports Drink, your digital water cooler. Sports Drink is a newly formed and created internet community, brings the intersection of sports and not sports. They're here to help us grow and hate on your favorite team. So go check them out online or on social. Go to sportsdrink.org or type in @sportsdrink on Instagram. That's spelled like sports drink, but without the vowels. All we ask is that you shut the door behind you. Try not to let the funk out. With that, it's been a minute, but let's play that beautiful football music, Michael, and get to football. What do you think?
It is time.
Let's do it.
Chuck keeps it himself. Made two guys miss. Touchdown! To now the end zone. Picked off, and it's picked off. Pick six, Jeffers.
Schlager able to escape, and then picked off. Back-to-back turnovers, and Waters running the other way.
20,
Back down the
10,
sideline.
touchdown,
Pick
10.
six, 70 yards. Marquise Waters. Play fake. Finds Tharp again, and he's in the end zone for his first collegiate touchdown.
The deep ball down the middle, and it's caught. Touchdown, Texas Tech. Miles Price, 39 yards for the score. Great action, Purdy. Intercepted. Picked off at the 20-yard line.
Smith to throw again. Has a man downfield, and Texas Tech finds the end zone. It's McLean Mannix. Brooks to the left side, to the 5. Touchdown, Red Raiders. Smith. Find a little time. Throw to the back of the end zone. Caught. Touchdown.
Tied at 38, 3 seconds to go, 62-yard try. Garibay has his foot into it. It may be long enough. It is good. It is good. It is good. Jonathan Garibay has won the game with a 62-yard field goal. Oh, my God. Can you believe that? Woo!
I'm sure all of our Iowa State fans and listeners love to hear that every week, or that we get to talk about breaking the conference winless streak against them, and just so much fun on Monday. But we're talking football right now. One thing I'm gonna jump ahead a little bit. We're not playing Iowa State this year, which I'll ask you your thoughts on that a little bit later. But you're missing the Oklahoma schools, Cincinnati, and Iowa State. So just be thinking about that. But today, National Signing Day, Part 2, signed Tredarius Brown, 6'2", 300 defensive lineman from Natchitoches, Louisiana. 28th commit of the class, your 24th high schooler. He's a big kid, man.
I have some adjacent recruiting news that I
Oh.
saw today.
Let's hear it.
Sonny Cumbie landed the highest ranked recruiting class in Louisiana Tech history at number 70.
Yeah,
which,
he did.
Yeah, which I'm not. Hey, we're not knocking number 70 because not that long ago, Texas Tech had a number 72 ranked recruiting class in 2017.
Yeah, 70th would have been an improvement. So
Absolutely. So Cumbie's already doing more there than Kingsbury was doing here on his way out.
well, and Matt Wells. So
Fair. Sorry, I didn't mean to take you away from talking about Brown. We should really talk about, this big guy that's actually going to play for us as opposed to rehashing previous coaches and their faults.
Yeah. Well, so the reading I did on him today indicated that he may be more of a project than a stretch. But the good thing about the way the roster is set up is that you have the time and patience to allow him to continue to develop and learn and whatever for his body type to shift a little bit. I mean, 6'2", 300 is not a bad spot to start. But with the defensive line you signed last year, the guys you have coming back at the top of your roster in terms of Hutchings and Bradford, Miles Cole, and then all the guys that played like Adidere and McAlpine. I'm blanking on names. I'm so sorry, but like, and then all the guys you signed. There is some flexibility and patience there with being able to bring him in slowly. So, one, you love that you're getting a 6'2", 300-pound defensive lineman out of high school, and then you got the flexibility and the ability to allow him to continue to grow and develop before you're like, hey, we need you to play. So that's awesome. That does kind of wrap up your recruiting class. You are still top 25, which is awesome. The only big thing within the Big 12 that I noticed today was a 4-star running back that you had some interest in. He had committed to Stanford, flipped today to BYU, and that was LJ Martin out of El Paso. Not really surprised when Shaw and that staff was let go that he was going to be looking elsewhere from Stanford, but lands at BYU.
Is BYU closer to El Paso than Lubbock?
No,
I'm just kidding. It was just kind of
they are.
a
They're
fun thing to say.
They're both in the same mountain range. I'll put it that way.
Okay. Are they? I thought aren't they the Chihuahua Mountains?
That's an
In El
extension
Paso?
of the Rockies. It's the same. It's the same.
Is it really?
They're all the same mountains. When they're in the middle of the-
Someone called the hotline. All the mountains are the same, from Canada all the way down to the Baja Peninsula.
Yeah, they're all Rockies.
Same.
Hey, speaking of Rocky Mountains, looking at the schedule, Michael, Texas Tech football makes 2 trips into the mountains this year alone.
I love the mountains, Spencer.
I do too. Opening day, you were out in Laramie, Wyoming. Take on the Cowboys. Westerners? I don't know what they are. The Cowboys.
I think they're the Cowboys.
Whatever. You're playing Wyoming.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And then-
It's an interesting matchup, and it's a cool place to go. So that's a pretty good non-Power 5. I mean, even that, I don't care that it's. Is it even a home and home?
I believe so. I do think you get them back in Lubbock next year. So
Okay.
2024.
Cool. Good job. Interesting one.
So you get 2 new Big 12 teams on the schedule this year. One home, one away. You do get UCF and Lubbock this year. So,
Well, you get 3 Big 12 teams this year. You get Houston too.
oh, that's right. That's right.
We just kind of forget because we've played them every year. It seems like.
Yeah. So your home schedule this year looks like Oregon, Tarleton State, Houston, Kansas State, TCU, and UCF. Road slate is Wyoming, West Virginia, Baylor, BYU, Kansas, Texas. You get a bye week there on October 26th to lead into a Thursday night game the following week. So you don't get quite the full time off there on a bye week, but you do get a Thursday night game, and then you get those few extra days on the backside of that before you head up to Lawrence to take on the Jayhawks. And then you get the Longhorns on Friday following Thanksgiving to finish the regular season down there in Austin. So, initial thoughts, Michael, on the schedule for Texas Tech? Do you love it? Do you hate it?
Part of me doesn't care for it. This is something you alluded to earlier, that we're missing out on Cincinnati, which, okay, I can take or leave that. I understand that you weren't going to get every single new Big 12 member, but missing out on Oklahoma State, especially when they seem to be down and their program is imploding, that's kind of bad timing.
Oh, and you missed out on playing Alan Bowman.
That too, the revenge tour, reunion tour, however you want to phrase it. Playing your former wide receivers coach in Norman, do you know that kind of hurts? We don't have that revenge tour on our doorstep this year, and they're obviously a beatable team because Tech done it. And then Iowa State, I can take or leave. I don't like them really at this point. They've had just enough success that I don't like them. They're on their way down. They're kind of in the same position Tech fans have been up until the last year or so, where the brightest spot in their football lives is former quarterback. So I get it, but I'm not missing that. But I would really like to take advantage of OU, Oklahoma State, trade Baylor for Oklahoma State. I think I'd be pretty happy. Maybe TCU. No, I want to play TCU. And
I'm getting back.
I'm glad that Tech gets them in Lubbock. Thursday games are always kind of tricky logistics-wise, but people have plenty of time to plan. I mean, at least they know it's going to be Thursday, and we won't know the kickoff time, but it's not going to be 11 a.m. It's not going to be 2:30. It's going to be in the evening, so you've at least got that. That's the good thing about these Thursday and Friday games for the most part. You're going to have an evening kick, so.
I don't mind a Thursday game.
No.
Just one a season. I don't mind that. I don't mind that it's at home. So looking across the conference, some scheduling quirks. One, I do really like that Iowa State and Kansas State do finish the year against each other. They get Farmageddon on the last weekend. On the flip side, though, you don't get Oklahoma State. You don't get Bedlam on the last weekend. They play that first weekend in November, so they have 3 games after that.
Well, you get the other premier
weird
rivalry in the Big 12, which is Texas Tech. You get that on the last weekend.
Yeah, you get that on Friday. Up against TCU Oklahoma, which I'm sure it'll be back to back and not like one or the other. That last weekend of games will look like Baylor, West Virginia, BYU, Oklahoma State, UCF, Houston, which could be really fun. Cincinnati, Kansas. There could be something there. Iowa State, Kansas State, TCU, Oklahoma, Texas Tech. So,
I want to point out something you mentioned before we started recording. Today I learned Villanova has a football team.
Yeah, they do.
And they're going to Orlando on September the 16th. Had no idea. Wow.
Yeah. That's I don't even know what else to say about it. It's just good for them.
Yep. Good job.
There are a couple of non-conference schools that play multiple Big 12 teams. One, I think it's interesting that Baylor and BYU miss each other in year one. They do get University of Utah, which is just up the road from BYU, about 45 minutes to the north. But the Baylor schedule missed the opportunity to have all of the religious schools on the schedule. They do have obviously TCU on there, but they do miss out on BYU. So Rice plays both Texas and Houston. Sam Houston State plays Houston and BYU. Pitt plays Cincinnati and West Virginia. And I don't see any other duplicates.
Wyoming plays Texas and Texas Tech.
Oh, yeah, they do. There you go. So I'm actually really intrigued by the non-conference scheduling across the conference. Like Baylor, Utah could be really good. BYU, Arkansas, UCF, Boise. I mean, that is a heck of a trip for UCF.
Yeah.
Cincinnati, Pitt. Houston has nobody. They play UTSA, Rice, and Sam Houston. Like, what a crappy schedule. Iowa State gets Iowa like they do every year. Kansas and Illinois. Back at it, Kansas State, Temple, and Missouri. Oklahoma gets SMU and Tulsa. Oklahoma State gets Arizona State. TCU is getting the return trip for Colorado and SMU. Texas is getting Rice, and then they have to go to Tuscaloosa to get that return trip for the Tide. But they also play Wyoming. Texas Tech obviously is Wyoming, and then Oregon at home, which I think is really cool. West Virginia, though, may have one of the most interesting non-conference schedules. They get Penn State in week 1, and then the Backyard Brawl week 3. Remember that game last year was just a lot of fun as a outsider. So every team is going to miss 4 opponents. They'll just play your 9 conference games. Is there anybody on that list, Michael, that you look at like, man, they got really lucky? Like they have a really easy schedule.
I think it's pretty even-handed. I hadn't gone through it that
because
closely.
I have an idea.
Okay, you go first then.
Well, no, I don't mean to cut you off, but
no, I really, please by all means go ahead.
So with first blush here, I'm looking at Oklahoma State. They don't play TCU, Texas Tech, or Baylor. Oklahoma State could be one of the worst teams in the conference and still start off the season like 6-2 or whatever it is before they get into the
like they did last year.
I mean,
you mean exactly like they did last year?
They've got Central Arkansas, Arizona State, South Alabama, Iowa State, which you had talked about. They're going down, but that Oklahoma State Iowa State game could be like, who's the worst? And then Kansas State, Kansas, West Virginia, Cincinnati, Oklahoma. Like going into Bedlam, like they could be like, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6-2, but still be a bad team because they just haven't played anybody. Like Oklahoma State may have gotten the best benefit here on the scheduling.
That's exactly what they did exactly that, Spencer. They started out 6-2 last year.
Yeah, well,
and then didn't make a bowl
off.
game. Oh no, wait, did they make a bowl game?
Yeah, they did. If they started off 6-2, they would have gone to a bowl game.
Yeah, of course. I'm an idiot.
Let's see who else got a favorable draw, if anybody.
I mean, I think. Let's see. That's probably it. That's the one that jumps out to me the most. Texas has a pretty tough one. West Virginia, let's see. I think West Virginia's schedule is pretty tough.
Well, Cincinnati, I mean, they don't get TCU, Kansas State, Texas, or Texas Tech.
Yeah, that's true.
That's probably up there for an easier way.
Yeah, and their non-con is Pitt, so it's they're playing a non-con with the Pulse, and they're going there, so they're not hosting them. But yeah, that's probably not. Yeah, they're missing out. Baylor's missing out on BYU, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma, and Kansas. It's kind of a fair trade, it seems like.
So, anyways,
yeah, I would say Oklahoma State, just compiled with how I don't expect them to be very good, but this is how I felt about TCU all last offseason. So grain of salt, everybody. But I don't I think paired with how they shouldn't be that great, and then this favorable schedule, I do think they've gotten a little bit of a slight advantage.
Yeah. So looking at the four new schools coming in, is there a destination, Michael, that you would really like to go to? Of the four, obviously being BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, and Central Florida. Is there a team or a stadium that you would like to go see, or a few stadiums? Because for me, it's in order: Lavelle Edwards to go see BYU, which Texas Tech is making that trip this year, and then to go play in the bounce house against Central Florida. I think both of those would be just one, great environments, and just a lot of fun for the game and the atmosphere around it. I have no interest in going to Cincinnati or Houston. Both of those are just microscopic stadiums. I know there's some history there with Cincinnati, but it being the smallest and it being just comically small is just like no interest there. And then with Houston, you've played there before. You've actually played Houston in other stadiums within the city of Houston to not play in their stadium. So I couldn't care less.
When was was that 09 Leach team? Was that the last time that we played actually where the Houston Cougars play?
No, it was like 16 or 17.
Okay.
Where you played in Houston.
I know it's mostly been at NRG or, wherever. Okay.
What about you?
I'm going to flip it on you, really. I just like the city of Orlando. I went for my first time in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
And my wife and I did the Universal thing and had a blast. And so, my dream is to someday talk the family into going to a Texas Tech game in Orlando, because then we will go to Universal on the same trip. So maybe that will happen once they release the schedule in the coming few years. We'll see. But, and they've got like this new world that they're building. I think it's going to have this big Mario Nintendo world. Pretty excited about that. But I would put Orlando at the top for that. And then for what you mentioned before too, Bounce House looks like a blast. UCF is just a pretty fun fan base. Tons of I don't know I'm assuming they have a ton of alumni based on just the number of enrollment. So
if they don't, that they should soon, right? When they got, what is it, like 50 or 60,000 students?
Yeah, and who doesn't want to go to Florida in the fall? That's a great time. A close second is going to see BYU. For everything you mentioned, the backdrop, kind of the same thing. Who doesn't want to go to that part of the mountains in the fall? It's starting to get kind of crisp,
fresh.
You're gonna need a heavier jacket than the one you left with. Elevation is up there. It's almost double the elevation here in the LBK. Just a great environment. I love watching night games on TV up there. So those would be my top two. Cincinnati would be three. I kind of dogged it before we started recording, but I'm going to walk that back a little bit because Skyline Chili gets a bad rap, people. You people need to quit being chili snobs. Man. No, it's just meats. It's just a different type of meat sauce put on noodles. That's all it is. There's no beans in it. I know people have a thing with beans. It just gets a bad rap. It's delicious. Put it on the noodles, and then you got the 5-way or whatever, because you got your noodles and your sauce, and you got your onions and your cheese, and I forget what the fifth thing is. The oyster crackers, maybe? I don't know. There's a 3-way and a 5-way. Family show. But I don't know what that means. I don't know what those, I forget what they were. But go for it. Right. It's really good. And then Houston, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, we're playing Houston. I'd rather be in NRG, so.
Yeah, which we can't, since it's a conference game, it's not like a big deal out of conference game. That's probably not going to happen hardly at all anymore.
Well, I mean, you say that, but Texas and Oklahoma don't play their conference game in their home stadiums. So,
well, if we're going neutral, don't make us drive to Houston every year.
No. Let's put the game in Dallas. Anyways, all right.
Yeah.
we'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on one, Big 12 stadiums, new Big 12 stadiums you like to visit, and two, what do you think about the 4 teams that you're missing, or is there somebody else that got a really good break for year one? But with that, Michael, I think we should jump into basketball. We got some basketball things to take care of, things to look at, actual preview. It's been a minute since we've done a basketball preview, and we'll just have the one. We'll have the game for this weekend versus Baylor, since we'll be back before the next game, which is Oklahoma State next Wednesday. So, yeah, man, you ready to talk about some basketball?
I am ready.
All right, let's do it.
Here comes Stevenson. Spins. And it is stuck back by the freshman sensation Smith.
Pass over the top. McCormick in a crowd strip by Owens. Moretti on the run. Bounce pass. Here's Culver.
Evans.
Yes! Game over.
Mooney with a crossover and the lob to Owens.
Now the shot clock is at 3. Mooney spins, fires. Oh, he got it to go. Edwards with a 3. Good. What a shot, Kyler Edwards. Moretti double into Tariq. Owens who puts it down. Moretti. Odiasi crowbars it in. Shot clock down to 5. Got the screen. Here's a 3. Good.
Culver got the separation. Oh, big shot. Stepping up big time. Dagger. Culver with the dish. Odiase. And one. He can tie it at the line.
That's it. There's a new member of the Final Four Club, and they hail from Lubbock, Texas.
All right, man. We talked about it a little while ago. Still getting ready for that NBA Slam Dunk contest, but Mac McClung, first ever G Leaguer to make it. All-Star Weekend coming up here in a few weeks, the 18th. 18th. That's a weird place to break that. February 18th. Are you a fan of like the skills competition in the All-Star break for NBA? Is that something that we should like bring universally? No,
I like the 3 points. I like the 3-point shots, and I really haven't kept up with. I know they do like a 2-on-2 or a 3-on-3. That's probably pretty interesting, but I don't watch any of the other skill ones. The only ones I like were the 3-point contests. Those were fun. I remember, this ages me so much, but Dan Marley was a guy that I remember watching. Did he play for the Heat or the Suns? I don't know. Seemed like it was a hot place where he played.
Yeah, I haven't got nothing.
Because he was on fire. No, I don't know where that came from. But I think Dan Marley was, like, I remember watching that. I may have even seen, I may be misremembering, but I think I saw some Larry Bird contests way, way back in the day as a wee young lad. But that's about it. But aside from the slam dunk, like I said before, I hadn't watched it much lately, but yeah, I'll definitely be watching it this year.
All right. Well, yeah, for sure with Mac McClung in it. I guess we'll go through the stat update, Michael. I think we, even on the last time we did have an actual full-on preview, we skipped the stat update because it was just
It's kind of sad.
why.
It's still kind of sad, but at least we just won 2 games. So there's that.
Yeah, so you broke your 8-game losing streak. You beat LSU, which even wasn't your best win at the time, and then you did get your best win on Monday against Iowa State. So you are 12-10 on the season, 1-8 in conference play. Ken Palm actually dropped you a couple of spots, which is fantastic. He went from 59th to 62nd. Your offense did move up. It's now 73rd. Your opponent's defense, as you firmly planted yourself in the Big 12 schedule, up to 82nd. Your adjusted defense has dropped to 61st. It's not a surprise with what we've seen this year, but your opponent offense, again, playing Big 12 basketball, 45th. Haslametrics has you at 62nd, so Ken Palm and Haslametrics has you right there pretty close. T rank and net rankings also pretty close, 59th and 65th, respectively, but Haslametrics offense bumped you up to 53rd. Your defense just is atrocious, 83rd. Remember, this is a guy that was all over your defense the past few years. You know, you stayed up like the handful of teams there for quite a while. The projections, though, are not so rosy. According to Eric Haslam, he's got Texas Tech losing their last 9 games. Yeah, and then he had Iowa State as a loss, as a almost a 2-point loss, which brings back to that thought, Michael. Going into that game against Iowa State, that Vegas line into that Tech minus 2.5.
Yeah.
And you win the game. You win the game with 3 points. Man, it's like, my goodness, like what did they know?
That's some weird voodoo. Yeah, especially with a 26-point swing to get there.
Yeah, when you were down by yeah, you said it. So
well, the other thing that I have a confession to make. I've stayed off the Action app pretty much since the end of football. I was never good at it. I was never good at it in football, and it's for entertainment purposes only. So it's not linked to any sort of accounts or anything. But even that, I just saw how bad I was, and I was like, that's it. So I don't really plan on doing anything for basketball. I might do some playoff NFL here and there or something, but that was it. But then I have to confess, I got so jaded and so down after going 0-8.
Mm-hmm.
I immediately took LSU on the points and the money line. Lost both. Was like, great, good. And then I thought, but yeah, Iowa State's coming to town, and Tech lost to them by 30. So I just don't feel it. I don't feel good about it. Took Iowa State, money line, and the points. Lost them both.
Oh, man.
So this is going to be my new thing. I'm going to fade the Red Raiders, which is awful. It's a terrible sounding thing to do, but I feel like I have to at this point, because that's the only time I've really messed with any sort of basketball picks this entire season, and they backfired on me epically, like most of them do. So I'm just gonna keep at it, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, it happens. When Texas Tech had gotten down 23 points, it felt like that Texas Tech minus 3 was a free money glitch there. But
oh yeah, I saw so many people. It was great. I mean, that was just like, that's an hour and a half of just nonstop freezing cold takes right there. Starting about 2 or 3 minutes before halftime until 3 minutes left in the game. It's just so many people, but myself included. I don't know. I think I was kind of cautious. I don't think I said anything too, something that could backfire too bad. But a lot of people, yeah, what was Vegas thinking? 2.5. That's so dumb. And then it played out just like you said. You think
it was right on, man. So yeah, so net rankings. Not that we're looking at resume here to get us into the tournament conversation, but you are now 1-9 in quad 1 games. Thank you, Iowa State. 0-1 in quad 2. Quad 3, the LSU game. It's a quad 3 game. We talked about it not even being your best win. Eastern Washington was 136th. At LSU was 138.
Yeah. Those are the
so
net rankings. Yeah.
You're 11-0, quad 3 and 4 games. Obviously, your next game this weekend, Saturday at noon on CBS, is in Waco versus the Bears. Haslametrics, however you want to give credence there, has this as a 8-point victory for the Bears. They are 16-6 on the season, 5-4 in conference, led by their just freak of a freshman, Keontae George. I wanted to point this out, Michael, as I was looking up the stats to update everything. He was the number 2 player coming out of high school this past signing class. Just forget that he was like,
well, until
not
you
just a
see
5-star,
him play,
but
yeah.
top 5.
Yeah, until you see him play and you go, okay, yeah, I get it. Because, I mean, the dude put up 27 on Tech last time. He was 5 of 11 from 3, 8 of 15 overall. Didn't miss a free throw. Perfect 6 for 6. Tech had no answer for him. 27 points in 32 minutes.
Well, he's averaging more than 17 points per game now. 38% from the field, 34% from 3, and 81 from the free throw stripe. Adam Flagler, 15.5 points per game, 41% from the field, 42% from three, 82% at the stripe. Then LJ Cryer, just under 15 points per game, an even better of a shooter, 45, 41, 86. So those three guards, man, you gotta be careful. However, your small lineup when you went to that against Iowa State with O'Banner at the 5, you know, I don't know. That's certainly going to help with the shooting against Baylor, but you're certainly not going to have to worry about trying to figure out how to fit in Amac or Bacho, and I don't know how all that's going to work out with Amac's foot, whether it was a re-aggravation or something new, and how long he's going to be out. I know we've heard that Pop Isaacs is out for a while, day to day, also indefinitely. I've heard both, so who knows there. But man, like if you can get some of that same kind of spark from Washington, Fisher in the first half, and Tyson in the second half, man.
Well, then Harmon offensively. I mean, it was, yeah. They can ball, but man, they have to play about as hard as they possibly can to maintain that. But hey, just don't allow some kid that looks like an extra in a 80s Devo music video to drain 7 threes on you, and you may not find yourself in that position. But
dude, Kalo Grill was just ridiculous.
He was. I just really, I know we talked about it on the instant reaction, but man, I really expected one of those prayers to go in.
Yeah.
Either in overtime. He may have had one at the end of the regulation, but I distinctly remember 2 in overtime, and he landed weird, and I thought, oh man, that son of a bitch is going to bank in. I just had a feeling.
Yeah, maybe.
So glad it didn't.
We actually have this point brought up in the chat. Can we just avoid the lethargic first half? It's not even just the first half. It's really been recently, or actually it's been both, but either like a slow first half or a second half meltdown. Ideally, you'd like to avoid both. You start off strong and then you don't fade in the first half, or you don't. You just don't start it slow, and then need a 23-point comeback. You brought up a minute ago, Michael, talking about Harmon's offensive output there in the second half. Man, it felt like Spencer have complained about that offensive style. It's just like, well, Harmon's just gonna dribble and drive, right? Like, it's gonna be the Harmon show, and it's fine it's fine when it works out, right?
Yeah.
But
it's been our most successful offense so far this season. I wish I could go back and come up with it, but I can think of maybe 3 or 4 games where that just happened. And I don't know if Tech won them all, but there was definitely in the non-con, there was one that I think was really in jeopardy, and then it just became, all right, we're just going to have Harmon go for it. And I think Tech had the chance to do that against West Virginia, but they did it too late. Anyway, I interrupted you, but that was, I don't hate it as much as most people do.
Yeah. This Baylor team, 15th in the country according to Haslametrics. The projection, like we said, was about an 8-point difference there in favor of the Bears. On the season, they are averaging scoring just 78.5 points, giving up 69.5. They're not a great defensive team, at least in holding teams under their shooting potential. Baylor does shoot 44%. They allow teams to shoot 44%. They shoot 35% from 3. They allow teams to shoot 33% from 3. They do shoot free throws at least quite a bit better than Texas Tech, 75 does Baylor to 70 for Texas Tech. They out-rebound teams by about 5 per game. They turn the ball over about 12 times a game, force 14.5. Whereas Texas Tech, one is not the most, does not commit the most turnovers in the conference anymore. They're down to 14 per game, while they forced 15.5. Oklahoma State has taken that top spot in terms of turnovers per game. They're at 14.5, which we'll talk about them in a little bit. They're actually negative in terms of turnovers and what they force with their opponents. But like I said, we'll talk about Oklahoma State next weekend. On the road at Baylor. This is, supposedly the 15th best team, at least according to Haslam Metrics. We just need to avoid just them going lights out from three, because that's just, shoot, man. Like if the team is hitting everything, it's hard to just do anything really, because the 3-point defense for Texas Tech is just not there this year.
No, and Baylor shot 38% against Tech last time. Tech shot 39%. That was one of their higher, probably one of their best three-point shooting outings in a long time, and still was unable to pull away. Shot 51% from the field. It was just, George, they just had no answer for him. That was, I really think, what it boiled down to. He absolutely beat Texas Tech, and hopefully they can regroup and figure out a way to not let that happen again.
Yeah. Do you have a projection or a thought, Michael, about how this game may end up playing out? Or do you even care with it being 1-8 and we'll just get
No,
there?
I probably sound a little bit pessimistic earlier, but I was telling some of the guys at work today, like, this is the most excited I've been as a 1-8 with a 1-8 record ever. That team I saw, and then, because we recorded right after the game ended, so we didn't get to see the celebration in the locker room. The guys getting emotional at the podium. O'Banner talking about making the tournament. Now, he didn't specify which tournament, which is fine. Harmon getting emotional and Adams getting emotional with the guys in the locker room and stuff. It meant a lot to these guys, obviously. It meant quite a bit to me, too, and especially in the matter of the way they did. So I feel a little rejuvenated. I think they've got a shot, but I don't think they'll be able to slow them down enough. And even though the last game they weren't getting beaten that bad on offensive rebounds, man, that has been a really bad trend the last couple of games. Yeah. And I think that could be something that could bite them. Maybe they can figure out something a little bit more offensively than just drive to the basket and hope for the best. But, hey, I appreciated that. That got them back in the game. That showed them being aggressive. That got them to the line. They quit trying to make threes because no one can make a three right now. I think it'll come down to two things. If Tech can rebound and if they can stop George, then they've got a shot.
Well, those are kind of tall orders there.
Yeah, I know. It's Baylor's a tough team.
So a couple things before we wrap this up and get to what we learned. One, Root says your mustache is looking luscious, Michael.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. And then Maddie says, look at these handsome fellas. Thanks. Guns Up says,
really
just
like
don't
the
dig a
glare
hole.
in my glasses. That's what's really good. That's really good television right there.
You need to just adjust your screen a little bit. I don't know.
I don't know what to do. I move it and it's more the same.
Yeah. So Guns Up 88 says, just don't dig a hole. Those were two different squads, lazy threes versus aggressive driving. Yeah, man, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
What else we can send to Adams and the coaching staff is like, hey, remember what you did well that worked on Monday? Let's keep doing that.
Yeah, let's if, like we said, if that kid hadn't made 7 threes, it wouldn't have been that dire of a stretch to try to come back anyway in the first place.
Yeah.
That was kind of bizarre. Even as bad as Tech's been, that was still kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
On defending the three.
All right. Let's break the mold here and actually maybe wrap up a little early. Let's talk about what we learned, Michael.
Okay.
What did we learn, Palmer?
I don't know, sir.
I don't know either.
All right. So one, we haven't talked about it yet, but the Super Bowl is set. Our fellow classmate, Patrick Mahomes, Back.
How have we not talked about this? You're totally right. We haven't mentioned it. We didn't mention it this entire episode. We didn't mention it after the Iowa State game. I think maybe we're just spoiled to it. Maybe we just knew it was going to happen. Actually, I had no idea it was going to happen. I was really worried.
Yeah,
the entire game.
he's back in the game again. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
And then the weird, like, who claims Jalen Hurts, whether it's Alabama or Oklahoma.
Who cares?
The Eagles are in it. Did you have any did you feel like we were kind of getting cheated out of seeing the best possible versions of these teams with how many injuries we were seeing, whether it was Mahomes' leg or Brock Purdy's elbow? Apparently he tore his UCL and may or may not need surgery. And they were already down. Like, he was their third string, their third option at that point. And they went to Josh Johnson, and he had a very similar looking hit on his elbow. And he's like, oh my gosh, they're trying to get McCaffrey a helmet with the headset in it and all this kind of stuff. Did it feel like maybe there was some of it that was cheapened a little bit? Like, you were just didn't get to see teams at full strength?
Yes.
Or did you care?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I did feel that a little bit. It's especially with the Niners. That was just kind of ridiculous. I'm not a fan of the Niners, but man, to just be down to playing your fourth or fifth string guy in a playoff game, that's a rough go. And then to go down the way they did. But I have no, I obviously think OU has claim to Hurts, even though OU has a claim to a lot of transfer quarterbacks that played at other Power 5 schools beforehand, because I can't think of a whole lot of, I think some Bama fans might kind of root for Hurts, but not a full-throated, oh man, huge Hurts fan, go Eagles, go Birds. I don't think anybody's going to take it that far, because I know it's a completely different circumstance, but I didn't see a lot of Cleveland Browns jerseys floating around Lubbock the last few years. I know that's different. I don't think there were a lot of A&M fans rooting for the Cardinals this year. So it's just, yeah, I think he belongs to OU.
Yeah. So with the Super Bowl, I want to ask, I know it's early, do you have any items on your menu yet for game day? You got a special brisket or ribs on the way?
I don't. I'm still working on it because the weather has been insane. So I just can't really.
Can we talk about this weather
yet?
My son has missed 4 days of school in the past 2 weeks for essentially nothing. Like, the roads have been just fine, but he's missed 2 full days of school this week and 2 half days, at least 2 half days. It's like, guys, let's get it together. And I know that, like, they're going off of like the forecast, and those are hit or miss. It's been a lot of miss lately. Like that, yeah, there was some precipitation today. Where the roads drivable mostly. Yeah, there are not a lot of bridges down here in South Lubbock to get to and from school. Now,
yeah, it got kind of hairy for an hour, but that was about it.
Apparently, Marcia Sharp's a mess, but like, okay, well,
it always is.
Don't get on a bridge.
Yeah, it's always a mess with any precipitation: rain, ice, snow. Someone dropped a bottle of water off the pedestrian bridge. There's probably going to be a 5-car pile up. Yeah, sprinklers. Oh gosh, yeah. Then you got to shut the whole thing down.
So for me, one, I want to do that smoked queso again, because that was phenomenal. I think I want to like make like those sliders that you just cut like the Hawaiian rolls in half and just put this big slab of meat in there and then just cut them up. You do that on like a griddle or blacktop or something. Okay.
Yes.
I'm thinking about doing that. I did actually see somebody that made they put some shredded brisket into the cream cheese mix for a jalapeno popper, and that looked fantastic.
That's the way to go. See, I think what we've mostly done is a bunch of snacks, just like a smorgasbord of snacks.
Yeah.
And one year, I made my own McRib, where
Okay.
I took an entire slab of baby back ribs, and then I deboned them. I purposefully overcooked them so that I could just pull the bones out, and then made my own McRib sandwiches. And then I was trying to convince my wife. I was like, "Man, I should do that again." And then she has such a better memory than me. She was like, "We didn't really like it that much." I said, "We didn't?" She's like, "No, it was fine." She said, "I remember you kind of just saying you wish you'd have just made ribs." And I was like, "Oh." So I have just such revisionist history in my head, like, "Oh man, yeah, that was great." I remember taking really great photos of it and thinking it turned out just like I thought it should. But apparently neither of us cared for it that much, and I was all set to do it again. Oh, well.
Steven Stevens says to try a tri-tip.
Oh, man, that's a great idea because
I've never done one of those before.
you haven't done one? Okay,
No.
I did one. When did I do that one, Spencer? Was it during football season?
I think so. I think I
Got
remember
it.
saying that.
Raider Red Meats, pretty good prices there. You can usually get one for like $10. They're frozen, so you got to plan ahead. That's a good thought because I've been wanting to do one again anyway. Yeah, good job, Steven. Nice. Wilden over there with some good ideas.
Yeah. And then also like I'm not like the guy that comes up with the best things to post on social. So I'm blatantly will tell you that like I ripped this off
We're
today.
so bad at social. We try
But
sometimes.
that snack ranking thing, I saw it and it was the options that were on the first one I saw were just awful. So I recreated it and I tweeted out and we got quite a good response there. But Michael, I want to ask you, one, it's a soda, chip, candy, snacks, and you get one of each. And that wasn't clear because like if I had to give like all the details of it, it would have been like just inundated with text. Nobody would have read it and it would have been weird. But like, okay, so soda, you can have any of the variations of that soda. Like, so if you pick Coke, you can obviously have Coke, or you can have Diet Coke, Coke Zero, cherry, vanilla, whatever, and still be Coke. And you don't have to be like, well, Dr. Pepper Zero's not on there, so I don't know what else I'd pick. No,
Yeah, strawberry and cream Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar is my preferred beverage.
Yeah, no. So okay, so the options for soda: Coke, Dr. Pepper, Pepsi, root beer, 7-Up, Sprite, Mountain Dew, Fanta. And with Fanta, you get absolutely every flavor imaginable. So with a soda, if you're going to take one of those, which one is it?
Pepsi.
What?
It's Pepsi. Pepsi, dude.
All
It's
right.
either that or Coke. It's either that or Coke. Those are my two.
Well, Coke would
In
be
a can?
better, but dang, dude, I was
Pepsi in a can is so hard to beat. Out of that lineup, whew, it's just fantastic.
I was not expecting that.
This was great. I liked that thing you posted because
I may
my
have
wife
to
and
put
I
on
talked about it. We talked about it for at least 5 minutes when we were eating dinner tonight because she came up with I can't remember it because I just already talked about how bad my memory is, but I can remember some of it. She came up with like the college version
Okay.
that she would have picked, and then what she would pick now, and they were completely different.
Yeah, I can totally see that.
One of them was Dr. Pepper and Funyuns, and then I think Reese's. Dr. Pepper, Funyuns, and Reese's was one of them, but I don't remember which
Solid.
one. And I should know this so that I can be husband of the year someday and come home from Stripes with the right thing.
Yeah, so this is definitely like a road trip stop at the gas station or convenience store. Like, okay, what are the three things you're picking up? Soda, chip, and candy bar. I had a hard time filling out the candy bar with like non-chocolate items. I only put 2 there, but I had way more options on candy that I didn't put on the list. One, because I want to have the same number of options on each row. But so for me, I'd go with Dr. Pepper. I'm good with any of the flavor. Well, not really the flavors, but I would prefer a Dr. Pepper 0 or 10, or whatever they call that version of it. Then diet, then regular.
Wait. Wasn't Dr. Pepper 10 the low calorie drink for men?
For men, yeah.
Oh
That
my
was the
God.
ridiculous. I
is
had campaigned
lame.
for that from like 10 years ago. And they came out like gray cans too.
Y'all are too good for Men need 10 calories.
You need 10. Yeah, so it's
Good Lord.
yeah, it's Dr Pepper zero sugar now is what it is. So I'd go there. I'm not messing with Pepsi or root beer. 7-Up or Sprite. I kind of have to be in the mood for it. Mountain Dew. I couldn't take the last time I had a Mountain Dew.
Well, okay.
And then a Fanta would be orange. But no, if I'm picking one, it's going to be Dr Pepper. So my list starts with B, Dr Pepper. Yours starts with a C, Pepsi. And everybody's like, you're Midwestern Mike.
Well, to take it a step further, if I would have thought this through, I might have gotten Code Red Mountain Dew. God, I love that. I love Code Red Mountain Dew.
All right. Chips. So I've got red Doritos. I didn't.
Is that what red Doritos?
Well, like the nacho cheese, the red bag.
Well, there's like 5 different red Doritos.
Well, okay. So the red Doritos here is just the I guess regular nacho cheese. Here I did include 2 different chips that had like different flavors instead of just doing like every option available. So it's a little bit different than the drink, but the options were the nacho cheese Doritos, Cheetos, regular Ruffles, regular Lay's, Funyuns, Flamin' Hot Cheetos, cheddar sour cream Ruffles, and then Takis.
Okay.
So which chip are you picking up?
The Takis, because I figure if I'm snacking, I'm probably either at a computer or driving or something. The Takis are out just because of the redness.
Does that mean that the Cheetos are out too?
The Cheetos are out too, but I picked the Doritos because I feel like I can mind over matter the Dorito. Like I can just use the thumb and the index finger, but for Cheetos, I feel like I need all 3. And same
Like
with
a whole,
Takis.
just a
It's like a
bunch.
whole different thing. But like Doritos, I can just like barely get the edge of the triangle.
Sure.
And that's it. Then I'm not gonna get it everywhere. Let me see the other ones. You had some great ones in here because the cheddar sour cream was probably my number 2 option here.
Oh yeah, those are fantastic.
Yeah. If you would have had jalapeno Cheetos, it would have been church.
Yeah, so those are all also
I would have
a
taken
good pick.
Yeah, I don't care. I would have ruined a dress shirt to eat some jalapeno Cheetos. It's fine.
Okay, so
I did
you're going.
appreciate there were a couple of people. I'm sorry. It always this. There were a couple of people that picked like 3 things that weren't on the list. Like, thanks for playing.
Yeah, I was like, that's not the point of the game.
It's always fun.
No,
some guys out here picking a Chico stick and a tuna fish sandwich, and I'm like, all right, good. Good on you.
GTFO, dude. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool Ranch
Okay.
Doritos, great. Thanks.
So you're going Pepsi, then nacho cheese Doritos. I'm going Dr Pepper, and then the Flamin' Hot Cheetos or Takis. But on my initial take was going to be the Flamin' Hot Cheetos. All right, candy. You got plain Hershey's, got Snickers, Reese's, Butterfingers, Kit Kat, Twix, Skittles, and Starburst. If you're going after candy, what are you grabbing?
Well, I just noticed, is that like the Reese's peanut butter bar? Is that what you picked?
Not on purpose.
Okay.
I'm
That's
sure
like
it
this.
is.
I
but
love those. Those are awesome, but I still wouldn't have picked that. I went with Snickers. As much as I love all of these, Hershey's would be my least. It would be last on this list.
Okay,
But man,
so
you picked a
since-
great lineup. I love all of these.
So Hershey's would have been last 2, but Samantha went like, okay, when I asked her, she took Dr. Pepper, red Doritos, and regular Hershey's. It's like, that's so plain. Now, she didn't take like the plain Ruffles or Lay's. But I was like, anyways. So I went with Reese's because that's my number 1 candy. But so some of the options that didn't make on the list that I would have also picked, but I don't think are up there. Baby Ruth and Payday are up there for me. There's Almond Joy and Mounds, depending on whether or not you like almonds. Milky Way and Three Musketeers are all up there. But I included the non-chocolate options just because, like, whatever. So very few people picked Skittles or Starburst today. But yeah, so
I like them as much as I like those two. It's just
Yeah,
like
they're
I
fine.
picture myself having a snack. I can't picture myself eating Skittles or Starburst with a snack. I feel like if I'm eating Skittles or Starburst, I'm watching a movie or something, or it's Halloween, or it's Easter, and I'm I'm sneaking all these Starbursts out of my daughter's Easter basket. Okay, you mentioned a couple. Here's a couple that I would have added. Whatchamacallit. Don't sleep on the whatchamacallit. I mentioned this in the Discord this week and had a little traction. I appreciated it. The Mr. Good bar.
Yeah, those are good too.
Man, it's two things, man, and it's so good. And then my third one is probably my favorite one is actually Reese Sticks, and just about anything Reese's makes. The Take so 5, good. All that kind of stuff. But I always put Snickers first, just because you can always find one.
It's got there's a lot in it. There's a lot in it. Yeah.
Yeah, because Reese's, you can always find the Reese's cups, but you can't always find Nutrageous or Fast Break or Take 5 or the Reese's cup with. I really like the Reese's cup with the puffs in it. Oh, well, they don't have them here.
Or the pieces, or
yeah. I like the one with the potato chips. Yeah, they don't have those. So, whatever. But my wife picked. She has different taste in that. She likes Three Musketeers.
Okay.
She likes
which not on the list, but
Milky Way, which you mentioned as an alternate.
Yeah.
But her favorite of just like the regular ones you can find most places is the dark chocolate Milky Way.
Yeah.
Gives it a little extra edge.
Yes, man, this is a fan of the dark chocolate. I don't like the bitterness. All right, man. I think I'll do it for us. I want to thank everybody that I swung through on the stream tonight, making the first official stream. Such a success. Steven came through and said B3B for him, which is Dr. Pepper, plain Ruffles, and Snickers. Can't go wrong with that. And then Guns Up said the jalapeno Cheetos are goated.
Oh man, thank you.
And then Gambling Gouchos came through and said the whatchamacallit is goated.
See, we all have good taste. Good job, everybody.
Yeah, just don't listen to Michael going with the Pepsi. You need real more.
Like my hottest take.
More Texan here. I should have replaced Pepsi with like Big Red or something.
Oh man, that would have been it. I would have picked Big Red hands down if that was on there.
All right, well that'll do it for us on the 23 Personnel Podcast. I do have the Baylor game coming up this weekend, Saturday at noon on CBS. Throughout the predictions, whatever. Just hope we don't go 0-9 and finish the season 1-17 in conference play, which would be worst since Chris Walker, Billy Gillispie era. But for Michael, I'm Spencer. We'll catch you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to the 23 Personnel Podcast. Help us out by subscribing, rating the show, and leaving a review. Follow us on Twitter at 23 Personnel, Spencer at PuntSuck, and Michael at Michael_LBK. Be sure to catch the next episode. And until then, guns up and let the tortillas fly.